Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Tech Talk. So today I've got Shannon Kuehn with me on the show. Hi, Shannon, and you're
Hi.
welcome once again to the Tech Talk show.
Sure. Thanks for having me again. I always enjoy our time together.
All right, Shannon. So you're not a stranger on the show, right? So for the people that are meeting you or that will be listening to this for the very first time now, so I think we should start off with an introduction. So do you want to
Sure.
tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Sure. So, as you've mentioned, I'm Shannon Kuehn. It doesn't look like it's Keen. I don't have a good story for that. I feel like my family, when they immigrated over from Germany, they didn't understand English phonetics, right? So that is how we pronounce our last name. I'm a senior program manager at Microsoft. I recently switched roles. I moved into the identity program group, and so I focus a lot on how we can get out information to demystify how to use identity services in Azure. So it's very similar to my previous role, which is where I had met you through talking through infrastructure as a service, all things related to Azure VMware Solution, digital transformation, cloud adoption framework, right? Now I've pivoted. I've gone ever so slightly different direction. It's still important, right? Talking with the community and demystifying those concepts with the community.
So I'm sure some people that follow you and follow your work on social media would be interested, right, to know how you got into computers, just like I would myself, right? So is
Sure,
this an
sure.
experience you'd like to share with us? Yes.
Sure. So it's a not so typical journey. I went to school for communication studies in English. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I grew up, right? And technology at that point was still kind of a mystery to me. I fell in love with electronic music, fell in love with DJing, and decided to take it upon myself to hook everything up to a computer to record a mix and get that out to club promoters in the area. Well, I got tired of leaning on my developer friends who used to always pull my leg and tell me to reboot my computer like 15 times. And I thought, you know what? This can't be crazy difficult. Figured it out. That sort of started this whole process of how could I become more and more technical. And then I was lucky enough to have a job right around that time frame, which invested in my education. So I came on board, knew the basic help desk stuff better than most of the people in the office. It was a smaller real estate investment firm. They needed somebody to come in and sort of man the ship from an IT perspective. I didn't have to be crazy deep on the technology front. I just had to know what I was doing and know when to lean on subject matter experts. So over the course of my time there, I was there for about 8.5 years. They invested in my education. That's when I started going deep in things Windows Server, VMware, um, Active Directory, Exchange, right? So did a lot on that front and moved them through a number of different phases in their journey towards becoming more resilient, greater uptime, et cetera. And then it became one of those things where I started realizing the firm was pretty small and I wanted to kind of see more of what was out there. So I started in on kind of hitting a bunch of different companies prior to Microsoft, where I saw a lot of enterprises, what people were doing at that enterprise level, right? What they were doing for certificate services, what they were doing for their domains and their forests and their trusts, what they were doing for different types of applications, different middleware tiers, right? And then I found my way to a firm that is they got purchased, so you wouldn't find them anymore in the kind of the wild, so to speak. I worked for 10th Magnitude for about 2 years, and that's how Microsoft found me. And so then I eventually found my way to Microsoft, which has just been an interesting journey. If you were to go back to me right around the age of my college career and tell me that, I'd be working in technology, that I'd be working at Microsoft and people would trust the cloud, I don't know if I would believe you.
So, the last time you came on the Tech Talk, just like you mentioned, you've changed roles, but back then, you were a senior cloud advocate. So,
Correct.
but now that you've changed role, yeah, do you want to tell us a little bit more about your new role and what your
Sure.
plans are for 2022?
Sure. So in my current role, we spend a lot of time picking apart services that are close to reaching general availability. So this month we are focusing on decentralized identities, and it's called Azure Active Directory Verifiable Credentials. So that's currently in public preview. We're doing a lot of activities. We've done some streams, we've written a couple of blogs, highlighted some white papers, and it's identity on the blockchain. And the cool thing is you don't have to worry about having a centralized entity handling identities. So it's a much different realm. It's heavy on the developer front too, even though I myself am not fair. I mean, I always joke, I say I play a developer on TV. I've been hanging out in the space quite a bit the last couple of months here in preparation. Right now, we are actually running a hackathon where folks have an opportunity to join the hackathon, build solutions, and they're eligible for prizes. If you were to go to 425.show whack DID hackathon, you could see that info. But I think this is a recording, so that may not be super relevant. But if you are interested, there's quite a bit that we've been focusing on this month related to decentralized identities. So we are looking at additional topics to cover as the year progresses. We are talking through a number of different ideas, strategy to bring kind of awareness to what we're doing inside the identity program group. And the realm I'm in right now, I'm in the identity, well, it's the identity and network access program group. So everything from zero trust to cloud Knox to all of the Azure Active Directory goodies, those are fair game for us to focus on as the year unfolds.
You are everywhere on social media, right?
I
Especially on LinkedIn.
know.
Yes.
Sure.
So I want to ask this. Does this add up to your KPI, your presence on social media, doing a lot of community engagement?
Sure, it does. So we try to align ourselves to what are called OKRs, that's objectives and key results. So the identity program group, they come up with those on a yearly basis. We try to align our activities towards that and kind of give extra fuel and momentum. So that's one of the ways to think about it. And I was just making this joke earlier in the week. We're sort of like megaphones for the services that we touch and the services that we cover to bring about awareness. So, a little bit of the KPI, but more so just trying to get information out to the broader community. LinkedIn's a little bit more static. You can post something there and a bunch of people will see it. Twitter, you have to continually repost and retweet and all of the above, but it still gets information out to the community.
What does your typical busy day look like at work? Doing what you do for Microsoft.
Sure. So it's interesting. I'm sort of in between the technical sides of the engineering teams as well as marketing. So we interface pretty heavily with marketing as well, trying to build out a strategy to get and increase awareness out to the community. So I have done things like hanging out on the marketing side where we're dealing with tracking links, we're dealing with how you raise purchase orders to have folks come in and help us, right? So we have an initiative where we leaned on a couple of influencers to help spread awareness for decentralized identity. So we had to kind of coordinate with those folks to get that information out there. And then we built out that hackathon using DevPost. DevPost is a great spot for folks to go to and just take on hackathons. But that's where we chose to host it. So it was a lot of organizing and orchestrating that side of things, as well as making sure that once folks submit things to the hackathon, that they can actually be eligible for a badge. So that's always the hot topic, right? Everybody wants a badge. And in the realm of our hackathons, we are providing badges to folks who submit a completed hack, right? So that's another thing we had to kind of figure out, as well as how does the service work? So we spent quite a bit of time, my teammate and I, building out a solution that verifies credentials and standing up the service multiple times just to make sure that we were able to kind of talk through it. And then, just talking with the program group, right? So we've had a number of the program managers on our streams the last couple of weeks talking about verifiable credentials, talking about the request API, the actual API that sort of gets hit in the, I guess, the flow of issuing out and verifying credentials. So it's been fun to sort of unpack the service. And what we expect for the rest of the year is more of the same, meaning we'll pick a topic, we'll find the right program managers, we will get some sort of marketing help, right? Just to help us build out what that looks like. And we will, in theory, do some more hackathons, maybe an Ask Me Anything. The idea here, though, is we're sort of trailblazing in an area that we haven't yet trailblazed as a division. And so that's been a fun reality. We're experimenting, we're building out ideas of how to continue to spread awareness. And so it's a lot of different things. I think that's probably what I like the most, is that no day is the same day.
For people looking up to you to have the kind of skills that you have now, what would be your tips for them? And what should they be doing if they're looking to be like you someday?
Sure, sure. So I think I think the thing I could probably impart upon you is don't be afraid to fail, right? You learn the most when you do fail, and we're hanging out in a world that's changing very quickly. I often make the joke that the cloud changes sometimes what feels like daily. It's more like about every 6-ish weeks, but that's pretty fast, right? When we had boxed technologies and we were shipping solutions that were surrounding Exchange or Windows Server, we had a lot more of a different reality where things weren't shifting and changing and evolving that quickly, right? They were evolving every couple of years. Now it's about every 6 weeks. So don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I don't know everything. So I often say things like, explain it to me like I'm six. That's how I've learned developer technologies. Explain it to me like I'm six, developer friends of mine. That's been helpful. And then just the idea of find something you're passionate about, right? If you really like something in the realm of technology, machine learning, developing apps, etc., find something that you're passionate about, right? Maybe it's building out a full-blown app, which you'll learn quite a bit on how to stage an app, how to build the front end, how to build the back end, right? Maybe that's a good opportunity for you to take something from kind of start to finish. And then, just making sure that you find folks that you can just ask questions, right? Trusted confidants, people that, are okay with dumb questions, right? I always say there's no dumb question, right? So if you've got questions, just make sure that you find the right people that will give you answers that gel with your personality, because I think that's what's helped me, right? That's why I can say things like I just play a developer on TV. I have a number of developer friends who have always been great with breaking down harder concepts, because my roles prior to Microsoft were very heavy on infrastructure, where I was racking and stacking equipment and I was building out software using kind of the software wizards versus behind a command line interface, coding out infrastructure, coding out solutions, right? And so I had a whole huge paradigm shift, and it was not something that happened overnight either. So be prepared for putting in time and effort as well. If you're working a full-time job and you want to make a change, you're tired of help desk, or you're tired of doing your regular day. Maybe you're working a job that's not technical. There's always an opportunity to shift and change. I think I can easily showcase that you can do that later in life. I didn't go to school for technology, right? So digging as deep as possible, setting aside the time, finding the right people to ask questions if something doesn't make sense, because we all learn so differently, right? Some people like video, some people like reading, some people like following blogs, some people like watching streamers, right? Find the right way for you to learn the concepts, and then hopefully that helps you kind of take your career and soar. You could always sort of end that motion of moving forward by getting a certification as well, right? Those tend to help you propel your tech career forward. So don't be afraid to go down that path either. That always helps related to proving you're invaluable and proving your worth to a company.
And so you've heard
Sure.
it from Shannon today on the Tech Talk Show. So I hope our story inspires you. So any last words from you, Shannon, before we say bye bye now?
I think just connect with me. I love to talk to the community. I love to help folks out. I have talked to a lot of different folks over the course of the last couple of years here, folks who are getting ready to pick a major in college, as well as people who are changing their careers later in their professional career, right? So I love to have conversations. I love to strategize. I love to try and help folks too, because sometimes the technical concepts aren't super clear, right? So sometimes you need some help with how do you stitch a full solution together, right? You've got a VM, maybe you have a web app. How does the web app talk to the VM, right? Can it talk to the VM? Maybe you take it off the VM, right? There's so many different things that are out there and so many different ways to experiment with cloud technology. So feel free to connect with me. I enjoy, building out those relationships and seeing how folks evolve themselves in the realm of cloud.
And if people are looking to connect with you, where's the best place to find you, Shannon?
Sure. LinkedIn for sure. My last name is spelled Kuehn. So Shannon Kuehn, you'll find me. And then I also have my Twitter handle at the bottom there too. So if you're more of a Twitter user, feel free to connect with me there. And if you're on LinkedIn a little bit more, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. But I tend to post there quite a bit and related to all of the kind of work topics and things that we try to cover as a team.
Okay, okay. So here's where we're going to be drawing the curtain on today's episode. Thank you very much for tuning in, and thank you very much, Shannon, for joining me once again on the Tech Talk.
Sure.
Yes, so from myself and Shannon now, it's a bye bye, and let's do this again another time.
Sounds good. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you, Shannon.